In today's video, we're going to talk about what every tourist should know. So, this is our 10 Turkey travel tips that will make your trip unforgettable. The first tip is all about clothing. So, what should you wear when visiting Turkey? Well, for men, shorts are okay to wear almost anywhere in Turkey. However, some mosques do not allow men to enter if they have shorts on. So I recommend that you bring long pants or at least knee-length shorts. If you want to be respectful and enter the mosques, then always dress modestly. When visiting any holy site like a mosque or church, women should cover up their shoulders and knees. You can always take a scarf with you to cover your shoulders and legs if needed. But personally, I recommend that you bring a long sleeve shirt and long pants because it's a lot easier than trying to wrap a scarf around your legs. And also, don't forget to bring comfortable walking shoes. Many places in Turkey are very walkable, and you don't want to be wearing flip-flops or sandals. Trust me, your feet will hurt after a long day of walking. The cobblestone streets are just rough on the feet. Tip no. 2 is to download Google Maps before visiting Turkey. Having access to an offline map will save you a ton of time and frustration while traveling. The main cities in Turkey like Istanbul, Antalya, and Izmir have great internet service. But once you start venturing out into the countryside or even to small towns and villages, you may find yourself without internet. In my experience, Google Maps works really well in major cities, but it doesn't work so well outside of the cities. And a big problem that tourists face is that they try to use Apple Maps or another map application. That doesn't work in Turkey. So, before coming here, download Google Maps and save your important locations onto the maps. You can also download other applications like Roam to Rio or Move It. These apps can help you figure out the best route to get somewhere, whether you're taking public transportation or if you want to use taxi services like Uber. Before coming to Turkey, I had heard many horror stories from other travelers about getting scammed by taxis. But now there are plenty of ride-sharing options in major cities like Istanbul, Ankara, Izmir, Antalya, and even in Cappadocia. So, these are all apps that you can use, and they are available in most major cities. Uber is probably the most popular one, but they are sometimes hard to find. Sometimes, Uber completely disappears in certain cities. So, a good alternative is to use the local taxi app called Taxi. It's only available in certain cities like Istanbul, but they have a great service. And sometimes Uber is more expensive than a normal taxi. So, it's a good idea to use the local taxi app, which is usually a little bit cheaper. Another option for getting around town is to use taxis. Taxis are pretty cheap in Turkey, especially compared to Europe. But you should always agree on the price before getting into the taxi. And you can easily call a taxi using the Taxi app. The Taxi app lets you request a taxi, and you can pay with a credit card. It's awesome. You can request a normal taxi, or you can request a luxury car, which is much cleaner and newer than a normal taxi. And if you want to use a ride-sharing service, then use the InDriver app. It's a really good app and it's available in many cities. And you can negotiate the price directly with the driver, and then you can pay with cash or with your credit card. The next tip is all about water. So is the tap water in Turkey safe to drink? Well, if you're staying in a major city, then I wouldn't recommend drinking the tap water. But most of the hotels and restaurants serve bottled water, so that shouldn't be a problem. And if you're staying in a smaller village or a town, then it's safest to just stick to bottled water. That's the best advice that I can give you. The 5th tip is all about Turkish delight. So, did you know that it actually helps digestion? This was something new to me, but apparently Turkish delight has a special ingredient that helps with digestion. And I found this out the hard way because I ate so much Turkish delight during my first few days in Turkey. But now I understand why I felt so bloated the first few days. So, if you plan to eat a lot of Turkish delight, then make sure to drink some water afterwards. And no, the tea that they serve you won't help. And speaking of tea, let's talk about tip number 6. So, did you know that you'll be served tea at least 5 times per day when visiting Turkey? Yes, it's true. Turkish people love tea. And if you're a tourist, you will definitely have lots of tea. So if you don't like tea, then you need to get used to it. And also, it's rude to refuse tea when it's offered to you. And if you want to be polite, then you must at least try it. But don't worry, the tea here is really good. And if you visit a house, they will serve you black tea. But if you visit a hotel, then they will serve you a special herbal tea that tastes very good. And I highly recommend that you try it. Also, if you visit a restaurant or a cafe, then you will be served a special Turkish apple tea. And this is really delicious. It's sweet and has cinnamon in it. And honestly, it's kind of like dessert. So definitely try this one too. So yes, you're gonna have a lot of tea in Turkey. Now, let's move on to tip number 7. So, what is the best way to get from the airport to your hotel in a major city? Well, the easiest way is to take a taxi, but it's the most expensive option. So if you're flying into Istanbul airport, then it costs around $150 to get into the city. So that's really expensive. Instead, you can use the Havaş bus, which costs only 18 lira. There are 2 routes that go into Istanbul, but you'll need to change buses in Taksim Square. Now, this isn't the fastest way to get into the city, but it's cheap. Another option is to use the metro line. You can take the Havaş from the airport to the metro station and then take the metro into the city. Or you can use the metro line all the way into the city. But you can only take this option if your hotel is close to the metro line. And the last option is to use ride-sharing services. And this is usually the best option. If you're landing in a major city, then you can just use a ride-sharing service to get to your hotel. But if you're landing in a smaller airport, then it's possible that there aren't any ride-sharing services available. So just keep that in mind. Now, let's move on to tip number 8. So, did you know that you can actually cross the border from Greece into Turkey on foot? Well, you can do this in the city of Edirne, and apparently it's only 8 kilometers to walk from the Greek border into the city. So, if you're crossing from Greece, then this is the closest point. And if you're crossing from Bulgaria, then the distance is around 24 kilometers. So, technically, you could walk from the Bulgarian border into Edirne. But I don't think anyone does that. Tip number 9 is all about money. So, what currency do they use in Turkey? Well, they use the Turkish lira. So, make sure to exchange your money into lira before arriving. The official currency exchange rate is $1 to 18 lira, but the actual rate is closer to $1 to 30 lira. You can exchange your money at the bank or at an exchange office. But it's best to exchange your money at an ATM using your debit card. The ATMs usually give you the best exchange rate. And the banks like the state-run Ziraat Bankası will offer you a good exchange rate as well. Just be careful when exchanging your money at the airport or at the hotel because they will give you a terrible exchange rate. And if you use your credit card, then you'll have to pay a service fee and they'll charge you an additional 20%. So, it's best to avoid using your credit card if possible. Tip number 10 is all about transportation. So, what's the best way to travel between cities in Turkey? Well, there are 3 options. You can fly domestically, which is fast but expensive. You can take the metro or the high-speed train, which is also fast but expensive. And then the last option is to take a bus, which is cheap but takes a long time. So, these are all the ways to travel between cities. You'll need to choose one based on your budget, your time. But I recommend that you take the metro or the high-speed train if you're traveling between major cities. And if you're traveling to a smaller town or village, then it's better to take the bus. Thanks for watching this video. Guys, please leave a comment below and tell us which tip was the most useful.